Good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome to the BCA-SIA-ACES free bite-sized webinar series, Staying the Course in Unprecedented Times. My name is Hui Wen from BC Academy. Together with Singapore Institute of Architects, SIA, and Association of Consulting Engineers Singapore, ACES, this webinar series is jointly organized as a platform for built environment practitioners to share, exchange, and connect while we are all physically apart. This morning, the webinar will cover perspectives and strategies to facilitate business continuity for the construction sector despite border controls in the area of Design for Manufacturing and Assembly, DfMA. Before we start, let me highlight that as participants, you are on mute setting. Should you have any questions about the discussion topics, you may do so by clicking the raise hand or Q&A button on your screen. At the end of the two presentations, the webinar chair and panel of speakers will address to it. You may also direct your questions directly to the speakers. On your attendance and awarding of your CPD points, as long as you have joined this webinar via the unique link sent to you, your data is captured. Do also note that when the session ends, you will be directed to access an evaluation form after you have exited the webinar. Once submitted, you will be able to download the speaker's presentation materials. Here's the outline of today's program. We are honored to have veterans like Mr. Khor, Director, PPVC, Dragages Singapore, and Mr. Ramamoorthy Rajendran, Managing Partner, Arth Design Build, to share with us on their company's resilience strategies to facilitate business continuity amidst this unprecedented situation of workplaces and construction site suspension. Additionally, we have architect Rita, Managing Director of RDC Architects, on board to chair the session. As an introduction, Rita is the Managing Director of RDC Architects and has been involved in feasibility studies, design and project management of healthcare, hospitality, residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, and infrastructure projects, both locally and overseas. Right away, let us invite our webinar chair to deliver her welcome remarks. Rita, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's good to see that we are all here. Although I noted that participants are coming in. Thank you very much for being here this morning. We are indeed very happy to have a very large audience this time round. So I believe some of you have started this webinar series yesterday. So I think you have also heard from the MD of BCA Academy that this is a series that started. Yesterday was covering sustainability. And today, I just wanted to pause for a while and ask, how have you been keeping? I hope you're all staying safe, working from home and coming to grips with the challenges that is hitting us wave after waves. Now, indeed, it is dealing with unprecedented emergency in these difficult times. As past president of SIA, I'd like to applaud the two institutions, both SIA and ACES, for coming together with BCA to initiate this webinar series. We are indeed fortunate to be able to come together here this morning to connect as built environment practitioners and to learn. But before I start, I'd like to say on behalf of all of us to convey our heartfelt thanks to all of you with family members, relatives, and close friends who are working tirelessly in the front line as frontline personnel to combat and contain COVID-19. Say a big thank you for all of us. And as we moved on, how should we be, learning despite the circuit breaker? It is indeed a time for us to come together. And I was very privileged very honored when BCA asked me. This is my first time hosting, rather participating in a webinar, not to mention hosting as a chairman of the session. So if there are mistakes made, if there are the difficulty in delivering, forgive us, and we shall learn together. And on this note, I like to welcome the first speaker. And perhaps let me say a few words about Mr. Khor Yuchai. Yuchai is a veteran who has more than 30 years of construction experience in Singapore. He holds a Bachelor of Engineering, Civil Engineering from NUS in '89, Masters of Science in International Construction Management from Nanyang Technology University in '97, and a Master of Science Civil Engineering from National University in 2000. So today, this morning, Yuchai will be speaking to us on the topic risk management strategy through Nimble DfMA approach. And basic synopsis is with the COVID-19 pandemic inundated all over the world since December 2019, Singapore's economy has not been spared from the risk of going down south. The acute spread of the COVID-19 among our construction workers at the dormitories is unprecedented and unpredictable. So construction projects at this moment are in the brink of delay, and contractors are facing cash flow problems due to the lockdowns in China, the MCO in Malaysia, the circuit breaker in Singapore, and also now the extended circuit breaker being enforced. It is then prudent for the construction entities to ensure business continuity and sustainability in this tough environment, implementing an effective risk management, controlling through a nimble DfMA approach is critical to further mitigate the risk of delaying the projects and to ease the cash flow. So on this note, I'd like to pass the floor to Mr. Khor, who will share with us Dragages Singapore's Private Limited strategies on managing the risk of their current 4 PPVC projects in Singapore. By the way, PPVC, for those who want to know, it's called prefabricated, pre-finished volumetric construction. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Khor. All over to you, Yuchai.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, let me control the screen. Could be slow. All right. Good morning. I'm Khor Yuchai from Dragages. Although I can't see any one of you, but I can feel the heat as the number of participants keep on increasing. So hope everyone you stay home healthy. Today, basically, I would like to share with you the risk management strategy adopted by Dragages on our current projects using the DFMA approach. However, I will only focus on how we mitigate the delay of the work progress on our PPVC projects only during this COVID-19 pandemic period. So, a short introduction on Dragages, the track record. So I'm showing you those completed PPVC projects. So far, Dragages has completed 3 PPVC projects. The first one on the left is basically the Crown Plaza Hotel extension. This is basically, I think, is the first PPVC project in the Southeast Asia using the steel carcass. This project is quite unique as Dragages can only install the modules during the nighttime. All the modules were installed during the nighttime in about 1 month period. The second one is the Woodland Nursing Home. Again, this is the first PPVC project adopted by MOHH. It's basically a steel hybrid. Now, MOHH has adopted the same method for several nursing projects in Singapore now. So it's pretty common. It's pretty common now. Next one is the Clement Canopy. This project basically is a tallest completed building using the PPVC system. 40-story high using a reinforced concrete carcass. Completed about 1.5 years ago. Next, Dragages ongoing PPVC project. In fact, at the moment, we have five ongoing PPVC projects. The first one on the top left, you can see the project is Park Colonial. It is somewhere next to the Woodley MRT station. Basically, you can see this project comprises of 6 blocks, 7-story. So basically, we have about 2,500 PPVC modules, quite a sizable project. The next one is the Uptown at Farah, next to the Farrer Park MRT station. This project's also using concrete PPVC, 2 tower at the corner of the road. Basically, is again we built using the PPVC system, but it's not a big project. We have only about 680 number of carcass. The bottom left, another one is our garden residence. Quite a sizable project again, also using RC reinforced concrete carcass. We have about 2,000 over PPVC modules. The next one, which is the most challenging, is the BCA Academy. Right now, the project is we just completed our piling. We are going to start our basement excavation, but due to this COVID-19, we put a stop. This project basically quite unique. The project sum is not quite big, but it's unique in a sense. It has all the DfMA features, such as we have MET, mass engineering timber, PPVC, we have MEP, and we have APCS, advanced precast concrete, and also the steel structure. Basically, the MET is complemented by the steel structure. So it has all. Like what Chinese say, you have everything. We have all the DfMA features in this project. The next one basically is a new project. We call it the M. Don't ask me the M stand for what, because the project is actually situated at the Middle Road. I presume M stand for Middle Road. So it's a new project at the moment. We are going to start the piling, but we haven't do anything yet. Again, due to this COVID-19. So basically, it's also quite a sizable project, about 1,001 RC module, but it is an integrated project. An overview, I will share a quick overview of the important attributes of the DFMA in case some of you is not aware what DFMA is. I will talk about some key process, the main processes, and the advantages of the DFMA projects for this COVID-19. During this COVID-19, I will touch on a bit of the brief chronological events on the COVID-19, what happened in Singapore, what happened in Malaysia. Why Malaysia? Because a lot of our carcass production factory we put in Malaysia. So what is the impact on our construction project in Singapore? And after that, we talk about the PPVC module supply chain. We need to understand a little bit on the supply chain. And of course, the main important thing is what are the current risks and how we mitigate it, what are our strategy. And later on, we'll talk about the future. What are we going to do in the future? So DFMA is basically an approach that we facilitate greater offsite manufacturing. That means we focus a lot on offsite manufacturing. We transfer the activity to offsite instead of doing everything on site. So the advantage is it can be built more quickly, safer, and more resource efficiently, cost effectively also. So basically, I think the main focus is still increase the productivity, less worker on site. The keyword, less worker on site. And this is very helpful during this COVID-19 period. So basically, what are the system using DFMA? Of course, you have the PPVC, you have the MEP, right? This mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and also the MET. Not limited to these three. You still have APCS, advanced precast concrete system. You still have structural steel. I'm just showing some of the few. Important to know what are the key process of DFMA for the PPVC project. So these three key elements is, first, you have the production factory. Production factory basically is you do your carcass production. Whether you use steel hybrid or steel carcass or concrete carcass, be it 2D construction or 3D construction, you need the factory. So you need the factory to produce your carcass. After that, you deliver your empty carcass to your fit-out factory. So in the fit-out factory, you do all your fit-out work. For example, all your trades works, M&E works, things like tiling, M&E piping, painting, window, doors. So you do it in the fit-out factory. Once it is ready, then you send to the project site. So at the project site, what you do is you do the module installation and you complete the remaining work, because the module is not 100% completed in the fit-out factory. All right, it's about 80–90% complete. So the remaining, you do it at the site. So take note, the whole key process, it happened at 3 different premises at the same time. So basically, we split the worker into 3 different groups. So what are the advantages of DfMA projects during this pandemic period? So I'm comparing the conventional project versus the PPVC projects. If you look at the left, under the conventional project, it's very clear, everyone knows, all the workers, you work at the site, all of them. Whether you're a concreter, you're a barbender, a carpenter, everyone, you work at the site, all focus concentrated at the site. As such, you have more workers, correct? You have more workers on site. Versus a PPVC project, like just now I mentioned, we split into 3 different premises. So when I split into 3 different premises, what does it mean? Straightforward. Workers, you have less worker on site because you already separated them. Workers segregate into 3 different premises. And workers, you can put them on shift also in the factory if you want. If you compare with the conventional project, you can't work very late because of the noise issue. The neighbor will complain. NEA will visit you. So you can't put the workers on too much OT. There's a limitation on the OT. But in the factory, all this problem, no issue, you can put them on shift. So the advantages, I put it on the right hand side. On top of that, good safe distancing working environment. This is very important during this critical period, right? We can limit and reduce by different shift. The good thing, one more thing, is working at different premises. That means what? That means we don't mix the worker. We don't mix. So the workers work in the factory, you don't mix the worker with the worker on site. So this one thing, no physical mix. So it's one thing good. So as a result, you can have a lower risk of infection because that's a worker. The good thing for contractor, I think the most important thing is know someone from NEA and MOM for working on shift. So a brief chronological event happened so far. What happened? So the first reported case sometime in December, if I'm not wrong, December last year. So after that from Wuhan, that one happened in Malaysia, our neighbor country. They announced the MCO, started from March all the way until May. But luckily last week, the Prime Minister, Mr. Muhyiddin, he did mention open almost all economic sectors. But the condition is with the health protocol to be implemented. That means start from yesterday onward. So this is a good news for those contractors who set up factory in Malaysia. After that, in Singapore, we have our CB. So from April to early May. After that, we implemented the stay-home notice. And with the extended stay-home notice further, and extended CV. So hopefully, no more extension. That we can, all of us, we can start working on the 2nd of June. So a quick update. I update the data by until April 30th. Until April 30th, we have about 16,000 infected so far. Out of the 16,000, about 14,000 of our 3,023 workers, migrant workers, affected, about 4.4%. From this number, 555, they are basically staying outside the dorm. And those who stay inside the dorm, this is a tremendous number, 13,800. I believe now is more, it's about 4%. It's about 4%. So this is an alarming number. Right now, all of us, be it as a contractor or in the government sector, all of us, we have to try our effort to bring this number down. Once we're able to bring this number down, then we can start work. So how is the market reaction on this pandemic? Basically, I think everyone knows we are basically inundated by all the bad news so far. Nothing is good. You look since April 28, you look at business time. Already mentioned, the layoff may hit 100,000. Retrenchment could rise to 45,000. So our GDP also may come to the negative side. Basically, business time as quoted, 2020 is the darkest year, right? Since independence is 1965. All the bad news you can see. So even Bloomberg in April 28 also mentioned Singapore coastline packed with ship full of oils with no one wants. Another bad news. Alarming. So all these bad news, of course, we have adverse impact on our construction projects. So let's look at the 4 key attributes. The first one, our local supply chain and logistics is very clear. The COVID-19 will affect our suppliers and also our logistics. In terms of business continuity, because our workers, they are not allowed to work, only essential activity they are allowed. So again, is given the bad hit on the construction side. Geopolitical risk. Our Malaysia government, they issue a MCO, so it affect our factory production also. The last one, of course, not least, the project financing, cash flow for project sustainability. So all these 4 are important for construction project to continue. Okay, for Dragages, the PPVC module supply chain, just give you a rough understanding. Our concrete carcass, we cast in Johor. Show on the top left, we cast in Johor, Johor here. Then after that, we deliver the empty carcass to Singapore, fit out yard. We have 2 fit out, one at Tuas, one at Jurong Port. And after that, we send to the project site. So you can see 3 different premises here, 1, 2, and site. So I believe other contractors also do almost the same. Of course, you can combine the carcass yard and the factory fit out yard together. But that means if you combine them together, you need a very, very big factory. So let's look at the risk and the strategy. Look at the geopolitical risk first. In Malaysia, due to the MCO, they stopped the carcass production and stopped the delivery because everything stopped. So how are we going to, how Dragages to resolve this problem? Basically is in March, we deliver as many carcass as possible during the free window period. Remember, if you can remember, Malaysia government, they did announce to clear the port congestion 2 times, about 3 days period. So during that 3 days free window period, we deliver as many carcass as possible. I believe other people also do the same, deliver to Singapore fit-up yard so that you have carcass in Singapore. However, if you are using a conventional project, there's nothing you can do. All right, you got to stop work in Malaysia, in Singapore. So during then, we also not sure, uncertainty of the extension by Malaysia, the government after the May 12. So for Dragages, one of the strategy is to counter this uncertainty, we are trying to convert our current Jurong Port fit-out factory to production factory. So in the event, if let's say Malaysia they extend the MCO or another new announcement, we are unable to do any production in Malaysia, we can anytime convert our fit-out factory to a carcass production factory. This is a strategy, standby plan. So on top of that, we also have additional standby plan. So we also apply a temporary TOL land in Singapore, so in case they extend the MCO again. So what happened in case also to cater for uncertainty of the ban of land transport? We don't know, right? So just during then, we applied to the Malaysia MITI to deliver the carcass by sea route. That means if we stop all the road ban, so we still can deliver the carcass through the sea route. So means we deliver by the barge. This is another photo show how we do it. So you still can use the port to deliver your empty carcass to Singapore. So, but the good news is, MCO in Malaysia, they lifted early. So sometimes the risk now evolve, become opportunity. So it's a good news. So it's a good news. Everyone can start. Factory can resume production, of course, with the health protocol in place. So now let's look at Singapore, our own country, the local supply chain. So we have the circuit breaker in Singapore. Basically, we stop all the supply chain. You are not allowed to deliver any construction materials, no rebar, no concrete, nothing can be delivered. So what can we do? So what are the strategies that we can come up to counter this Singapore stop all the supply chain? In fact, actually, nothing we can do. All right, nothing we can do. So we just got to wait until 2nd June. So it's quite clear. Sometimes we don't have the solutions for all the problems that we are facing. So before the CB and the SHN in Singapore, sometimes in March, so we already started facing the delay in the construction. So because we're facing the delay in the construction material delivery from China and Malaysia, because China started first, so they implemented the lockdown earlier. A lot of the contractors in Singapore are affected. So some affected by the crane delivery, some affected by the rest of the construction material delivery. On top of that, we also face the labor crunch. During then, workers are panicked. A lot of workers, they request to return to their home country because of the COVID. So we are lucky during that period prior to the CB and SHN, BCA, they actually adopted the facilitative approach. That means they allow some of the projects, PPVC projects, they allow to install the partially completed PPVC module so that the work can continue. We don't have to stop the work. This is a good approach. This soft and flexible approach at least allow work continuity without stoppage. So after we install the module, at the later stage, we can install the fitting up, the remaining work. So if you're doing a conventional project, nothing you can do. Last one, I think this is the most important thing for contractor to ensure work continuity, means cash. Cash is king, everyone know. Cash is king. If you don't have cash, you really cannot run the project. So project financing is important. So the good thing for PPVC project is you can claim for the partial payment for the carcass that you have done or modules you have done in the factory. Remember the first carcass production, the carcass production factory, fit out factory, and the site. So basically you can claim certain amount of money for these 3 products, even though the product is not yet on site. For the conventional project, you only can claim for your progress claim when you have done the job. When you see everything on site, you have seen something, then you can claim. For PPVC, something good, even though it's not on site, as long as in the factory, certified by the authorized people, then you can claim certain amount. At least this can ease your cash flow. How about future? How about the future consideration? We need to have some precautionary measure in the future. For example, hygiene. In the factory, perhaps you can use the disinfecting robot in the factory to disinfect the large surface quickly. You can use the robot. You don't need to depend on the worker. Cut down the number of workers. You can have a safe distancing. This is important. You can use the Embracer software to track and limit the number of workers working in the module. Because in the factory, we are all basically working in the individual module. Basically, we can track, we can limit. We don't put too many workers working in the single module. Because so many modules, you can arrange, you can schedule. Another one is perhaps you can increase, how you increase the productivity is using the automated gantry crane. I think PSA also right now they are trying to do this. So we can transfer this technology into the factory. So we don't need the worker to remote control. So like what our Minister Lawrence Wong said in the Parliament 2 days ago, I quote his announcement. Part of the work resumption after CB would mean changing the work culture and practices for all firms. We need to change our work culture. Life after the CB will not return to status quo. Construction sector will have to fundamentally change. He quoted, fundamentally change the way it carries out its activities after CBN. That means when the CB is lifted, we need to come out some extra precautionary measure. How are we going to work when they lifted the CB? So in my opinion, in my personal humble opinion, DfMA is one of the nimble approach in the future to resolve this. You think of it, when you have less worker working on site, it's more easier to control. That's for sure. That is for sure. So I think this is one of the nimble approach in the future. With this, I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Khor, for your insightful sharing on how Dragages effectively manages their PPVC projects. Next up, Rita will introduce the next presentation topic and speaker. Rita, please.
Hi, thank you, Yuchai, for the very comprehensive coverage of PPVC. I know 20 minutes is very short time, but you did a fantastic job. For the audience, please keep your questions up. Later on, we have Q&A. Now it's my pleasure also to now bring up the second speaker, Mr. Ramamoorthy Rajendran. He's the managing partner of Arth Design Build. Solving labor productivity issues is increasingly becoming one of the many primary drivers for transferring a portion of work offsite to do more work with less. The speaker, let me see, he will be speaking on the topic that is identifying challenges and key deliverables in prefabrication and modular operations that could be further enhanced by emerging technologies via the analyzing construction workflow and identifying bottlenecks for modular construction projects and modular construction opportunities and trends in Southeast Asia and India. But before I pass it to him, let me just do a very quick synopsis, a very quick introduction of Moorthy. He's a managing partner of Arth Design Build Private Limited, a chartered professional engineers Australia with 20 years of experience in Singapore construction industry. He is having a strong knowledge in design and construction of PPVC as well as DFMA technology. So on that note, Moorthy, please, can you take over the mic?
Thanks, Rita. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thanks, Khor. Yeah. All right. Good morning, everyone. My topic, I have two portions. One, modularizing and manufacturing in construction. Second is capturing opportunities beyond Singapore. Right. All right. So just a brief introduction about my company. I belong to a company called Arth Design Build, which is predominantly a service-oriented company. It's a Singapore-based company. We have two areas. One is on the integrated digital delivery areas, which is basically digitization technology for construction. The another one is a DFMA consultancy, which predominantly we do it for Southeast Asia and India. That's a short of for my company. Then where are we operating? We have 6 countries, including Singapore, India, and US, UAE as well. Okay, before I jump into context, I'm not going to share with you my company strategy alone, how technology, digital technology helps for construction during this pandemic. I'm also going to share the entire Singapore construction industry, how we transformed over the years. Statistically, we have most number of DFMA projects in the world. It's about nearly about 160 to 170 DFMA projects, including a PPVC or a prefab MEP or MET or advanced precast or PBU, right? So it's a combination of all, right? So we have quite a number of years experience in this technology. I mean, I would say that a reasonable number of years of experience. Okay. So rather than going into the topic of modularizing, I will slightly tweak into DFMA, which is exactly the modularizing. So in DFMA technologies, last 6 years, how we transformed, then how these 2 areas, which is one is hard technologies and soft technologies like digital tools, when it combines together, how the efficiency is increasing. This is what we are going to touch on it, how it's important during this kind of situation now. So in short, DFMA has 5 predominant steps like design, planning, and production, construction, and delivery. I'm going to briefly touch on each stage, how this combination of technology and digitization helps to improve the productivity. Okay, then I have to start a story from 2014. Right, this is where our modularization journey started. Some of you may wonder, how do you know the story in 2014? Just a brief background. Before I joined this company, I used to work for BCA. I was one of the directors in construction productivity. So I have some background knowledge on this modularization story. Right? Way back in 2014, this was the first residential projects in Singapore in a concrete volumetric construction, right? Which by the times, no other countries in the world is really doing that, this kind of massive concrete volumetric construction. So this was our very own pilot projects, and thanks to project team to made it, right? The story starts from here. When this project started, it was intention was normal conventional design. Later we switch over to the modularized way. So what happened to this project is we ended up kind of 63 type of modularization components in these projects, right? Of course, this project was very well executed, but there is a lot of learning points from these projects. So these 63 types of modules becomes 80 or 90 types of mold fabrication, which also leading to the cost also. So there is a direct correlation between this modularization and that cost. Then what happened to subsequent the next year? Starting from the next year, after 2015 onwards, our projects are right now, I would say that about 60 projects, PPVC project ongoing at various stages. But start from the 2015 onwards, most of the project, if not all the projects, our architects and our designer know and how to modularize it. This is one of the best example projects, right? So only less than 20 type of modules, if I'm not wrong. Right, this project was very well managed and managed to finish earlier than scheduled. Right, at the same time, our architects knows how to striking a balance between that modularization and creativity. Okay, then come to digitization part. How does it improve that modularization? Right, when we use as a BIM and other sophisticated softwares, so we can easily accommodate the changes and it optimizes the modularization as well. And the good thing is we can extract and shop drawings from the models, right? And we can incorporate the standards as well, right? Again, it improves the efficiency of DFMA. Okay, the second stage is a planning. how crucial planning in PPVC projects, with this kind of new softwares, we can do a rehearsal of the projects, how exactly the modules are going to be placed, how it's going to be exactly stitching with the conventional part of the projects, right? Which we can, rehearse it before starting of the project. I will show the quick video about ongoing project, which is 56-story projects, that the project team is, quite well versed in using of software, and our company also working together with them to help to do this simulation. So you could see this simulation, which is in progress now. It can also link with your master schedule. See, that means exactly what date the modules are being planned to install, and how it's going to align with the cost in situ portion. You would see the complete simulation on this video, right? So which is really helpful for a project team. All right. Okay, the next step I'm going to in the production stage. So in production stage, I think some message from this, right? Okay, in production stage, how are we transformed from us? When we started in 2014, our modules are stitched by the 2D precast in a way that it was a 4-step operation. Later part, our technology has transformed. Now we move to 3D mode. You will get a better finishes. Then the operation become 4-step to 2 steps now. And moving forward, what we are doing is now is some project they're trying to use as a 3D flexible mode, even which is much better quality, and also the size you can vary. If it is variable size, the mold can be adjusted, right? This is on the technology side. On that digitization side, how the production stage helps when the modules are being produced at the factory, using of QR code to scan the modules, and at the fit out factory, again you can track that what are all the trades works. Usually about 13 to 14 trades of works to be completed at the fit out factory. So each trades you could be easily tracked, and the real-time monitoring on the cloud-based systems. If the project has easily, our projects are 1,500 to 3,000 modules. So it's quite tedious to monitor each and every module at the various process stage. Thanks to these technologies, now you can, at live, you can able to monitor. Okay, then come to the construction stage. When we started our volumetric construction journey in 2014, this is the left-hand side. The project was NTU projects, which by the time only 24-ton capacity tower crane was available. Right? So later part, when we switched to concrete volumetric construction, which module itself has 25 to 30 tons, so we need higher capacity tower crane, which was 48 tower crane. By the time we were quite happy. That crane was from Germany, Libra. Then subsequently, what happened to 2016 onwards, the higher capacity cranes are available in the market. Now even 64-ton capacity crane, so which really helps to improve that installation speed now with cameras and other smart technologies incorporated into the crane. Right? So then next, how digitization helps into the construction stage. When the modules upon the delivery, right? So again, the QR code can scan it up. So all your permit work and other inspections are automatically prompted to your email via mobile phone. Then upon installation, you could, or any parties, the visible to all parties, start from client to subcontractors, able to view from the model view in your phone. You can able to see that where the modules are installed, how many modules are complete, everything you can visually see the things. Right? So in short, our DFMA has transformed within 6 years. We transformed in a very much better way. I know that start from your design to until the installation of every process you can digitally manage. Of course, there is a tomorrow session on IDD which they will talk about more in depth on this portion. But I am just combining that how technology and digitization come together, improve the efficiency of our DFMA journey. Right. This journey, right? Not only that, entire our documentation process, right? Now we are work from home, so whatever our documentation work, RFA, RFI, everything's now digitally managed through cloud-based platform. In short, which is very much a reduction of paperwork on construction. Now the construction progress and various stages can be visible to all the related parties. Right? This is how we transform. Then I'm aligning to my topic again. So modularization, one thing, manufacturing, right? So how can we move forward to the manufacturing? Is it possible to produce using a robot? Yes, it could be possible. This is one of what our kind of research projects, which local companies exploring these possibilities using of a robot to assemble PPVC module or DFMA module, right? Then the second part is, for non-structural element, PPVC is a structural element. For non-structural element, like a PBU, our very own Singapore companies like Semcap and NTU, they join together, then they come up with this 3D printed bathroom. You might have seen from the newspaper articles, but I like to show this quick video how again a robot can print the 3D bathroom, which they are in the process of getting Building Innovation Panel approval. We hope to see this bathroom pod in action in a few months' time to real project. And now let me show the video. All right, this is our very own Singapore product. Okay, that was my first part is on how do we modularizing and how do we moving towards the better manufacturing way of DFMA components. Now, capturing them, second part, moving to capturing DFMA opportunities beyond Singapore. We have quite reasonable number of experience. We have a number of projects in Singapore. How our Singapore companies are capturing opportunities with this skill? Quite a number of South Asia countries expressed interest on DFMA because every country has a short of labor, particularly for construction industry. The one is, they quite frequently visit to Singapore and learn our technology. Is Hong Kong. They do started a PPVC project, and Malaysia they are doing a couple of projects, and India they are starting now. And the other countries have expressed interest. Some Singapore companies operate on this country. Right. No. So do we have that kind of a capability on DFMA technology? I would say that yes. I think this is my favorite slide. I usually share to any of the seminar. When we started in 2014, before 2014, we have no idea about what is volumetric construction, to be honest. So together with thanks to BCA, they bring industry partners to overseas countries like UK, US, and Australia to learn the technology, how efficiently they are making it. This particular project was 32-story. By the time it was the world's tallest project in New York City. I personally visited a couple of times this project, and Arth was the designer. Right? Then they shared their engineering and construction details to us. So what happened is we learned the techniques and we modified to suit to Asia context. And within 5 years, I think within 4 years, in 2018, we completed 40-story. Right? But the difference between the first one, second one is that the first one was steel construction, which is the module weight is about 15 ton, but ours is a 40-story, but the module weight was about 30 ton, which was concrete technology, right? Within 4 years, right? And what are we doing now is we are building 56-story, which is under construction now in Silat Avenue. The first one was done by our local designer, thanks to Wang Seng, TWA-Asia, and ADDP Architects, and our own our Singapore company Dragages, and thanks to Mr. Alan Tan to make it happen. And then 56-story again doing by a local company. Okay, where are we now in the targets? Coming from the angle of do we have a real capability? Statistically, in 2020, our target was DfMA rate was 40%. We have achieved 31.9%. The source of info from a BCA website, and government has set the target in 2025, 70% of our buildings to be constructed in a DfMA way in terms of grass floor area. Right? So that is the target we have set. We have gotten a reasonable number of DfMA projects in our hand. Okay, with this capability, sometimes companies like us, and we pair up with us with other companies, Singapore companies. You look at the things, all are generally the SMEs companies. What we do is we pair up with companies and we exchange technology, and we do operate some projects. We have secured some projects in the overseas, particularly for Southeast Asia and India and Malaysia. So let me showcase some of the example. But this is one of our Singapore company doing a first volumetric construction projects in Hong Kong. Right, the system is approved by the BIP system, and in Hong Kong they call it as a MIC, Modular Integrated Construction. Together with the volumetric construction, that is our construction management software has been also used in this projects. Then the other video I want to show this during this corona situation, that's how quarantine camps are built using of volumetric construction with a very efficient manner. And this video is just the camp was done in Hong Kong and used by Singapore Singapore PPVC system. So that is the beauty of DFMA system. In fact, if you want, you can remove the modules and relocate it. Okay, what our company is doing, we have gotten a project in India, Hyderabad, which is affordable housing. If I'm not wrong, that is the first volumetric construction projects in India, full volumetric construction projects. We do design and collaborate with our local designer as well. Right? This has 6 blocks of 708 units, which is in the design stage now. All right, this is one of our ongoing projects, and our company is doing of prefab MEP, and our construction software has been used for these projects in the Goa airport. And this is on another proposed volumetric construction projects in Mumbai, which is about 24-story, which is on the seismic zone as well. So we need to tweak the design a lot. But again, I'm very conscious about my choice of word. This is on the exploration stage only. We have not, the client have not confirmed yet, but we are doing under feasibility studies. Okay, not only that, moving beyond as a Southeast Asia, since our office is in the US, we do have our construction management softwares are being used in the US, but happened to that Tesla wanted to do a retail showroom using our DFMA way. We are working or discussing in the discussion with the Tesla how to do that the retail showroom in a DFMA way, including of DFMA interiors. Right. So. All right. Although it's a difficult situation during the COVID periods, people are working from home thanks to digital technology. And I checked with some of the designer firms. Their design works are in progress. No, they are not stopped the work, although they work from home. And come back to my company, we are quite fortunate. Most of our digitization team are quite busy during this period, and it's quite unusual. Also, we received a lot of inquiries from overseas partner how to do it in a DFMA way. The situation is quite unusual. Sorry. But let me summarize it to this point is how do our local companies secure projects in the overseas, right? When we go to overseas, we have to be open-minded. We should we have this policy called no one size fits all solution. That means when we operate on this country, when we design for this country, first thing we understand is the local requirements and codes. Then we need to tweak the design to suit a local context. For example, when we do it for an operate in Hyderabad projects, we don't use the shear wall PPVC. Instead, we use the frame structures because they prefer to knock the wall in between the unit. Then the last important point is cost neutral, right? That is a very important attribute for developers. So we need to manage the cost. We can't go with a higher premium. In simple example, how we manage the cost is when we do the volumetric construction, there are 4 areas that brings a high cost. One is on your mold cost, then is your material cost because of double wall and double thickness. Second is your cranage cost. Fourth is your logistic. And the last one is the fifth, and one is your factory cost. So when we operate, when we do design for some of the overseas countries, sometimes the land is not a big concern for them. So we recommend them to set up the factory next to the project. So your logistics and drainage can be saved. And sometimes we don't do design for 6-side module, 5-side module. That also saves cost. It's a lot of permutation combination to how do we make it into cost neutral. That we learn from Singapore. Then that is a benefit when we go to overseas, right? And as I mentioned earlier, during this period, my digitization team is quite busy, which is quite unusual because I was from the industry as well. When we push a new innovation or new work process to the construction industry people, typically there's a 2 scenario will happen. Like one is if the market is good, people are busy with work, so no time to look at innovation. When the other scenario is if the market is not so good, no budget for that new work process or new innovation. But this COVID period is bring it as a new context. People are willing to listen the new work process. How can we improve further? So again, I would say that
I share with you something.
Okay. I would say that, okay, this is an opportunity, right? Although it's a tough situation, which I link with my next slide, right? If my translation is correct, we can take it as a crisis as an opportunity. So, okay, and let's move forward. And this is my last slide. Stay home, stay safe, and stay united. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Muti. Enhancing labor productivity is indeed essential to do more work with less. Right now, we will move on to the Q&A session. You may raise your question by clicking the raise hand or Q&A button on your screen. Over to you, Rita.
Yeah, thank you, Muti, for a very interesting and also very candid view of DfMA. We do really know a lot of things from your video. Now, I like to take the question and answer question. Perhaps from the Q&A panels, the questions been raised, I like to perhaps structure it such that we also, we just look at the first speaker's question first. And I'd like to summarize, there are quite a few questions on that. Primarily, I think with regards to PPVC, Yuchai, the work really, the questions really centered on a couple of key issues. One is what type of projects as well as the scale of the project that can be used for PPVC construction. Next will be cost question. What is the cost of PPVC construction comparison to the traditional mode? And third would be the what would you do in the circuit breaker period when it opens up? So perhaps I will, no, then of course the other two other cluster would be software, what are various software used, and then claims for offsite delivery. Now, I think maybe what I can do is to read from the question here on the type of projects that is suitable for PPVC. Chai, you want to perhaps answer that first? There are a couple of questions that's been asked, so I'm not going to read the name of the participant, but perhaps you can react to the type of projects and also the size of the project that can be appropriate for PPVC. Chai?
Okay, thanks, Rita. So I think first I address the question, what type of project is more suitable for PPVC? So I think come back to the basic fundamental. The important criteria is the design of the building. It must be modularized. Means the carcass or the module, when you cast in the factory or you do the fit up in the factory, it must be modularized. Modularized doesn't mean it must be square and boxy. What I mean modularized means you can reuse the mold for the carcass casting as many times as possible. When you reuse the mold, the more you use, that means the mold cost become cheaper. So when it's become cheaper, ultimately we transfer to the project cost. The overall project cost will be cheaper. So this one also come to the third question. Someone asked, how much is the PPVC cost? At the moment, of course, the PPVC, if you compare with the conventional, is still slightly more expensive. But we believe, everyone believe, even the government believe, the cost will be down because the number of PPVC projects is getting more and more and more. As the minister said, you know, in this year, 2020, 40% will be using DfMA, and there'll be more DfMA projects coming out. So I believe the cost of PPVC at the end, it will come down, gradually come down, and maybe match the conventional projects. It's just like the handphone. Handphone in 10 over 20 years ago is so expensive. Now you look at the handphone, it's so cheap. So there's the first question. And then what is the second question again, Rita?
The one actually is on cost of PPVC. You've just answered that. And the other thing is what's the impact on perhaps circuit breaker issues where your PPVC constructions are overseas? So I think you have briefly covered in the slides, but maybe you want to reiterate some of the concerns that you have.
I think for dragage projects, because like just now I mentioned, because we produce the carcass in Johor, in Malaysia, which some other PPVC contractor, they are also doing the same. So the carcass production in Malaysia. So when Malaysia announced their MCO, of course, this one gave a great impact on the progress of the project. The good thing is when they leave up the ban, the temporary traffic ban on the traffic, because they want to ease the congestion in the port, so they allow the factory to deliver the carcass up from Malaysia to Singapore. The rest of the PPVC contractor, I believe they do the same. So this is one of the advantage if you are adopting the PPVC project. So you still can receive the carcass, although it's better than zero. Better than zero. If you compare with conventional, you cannot do anything at all. So these are the best thing that you can do.
Okay, so perhaps I like to follow up with a question that was raised by Hiwi. He mentioned here, I just read to you, Tai, what are your thoughts going forward that we should manufacture locally to be self-reliant? In view of the social distancing requirements from COVID-19, the ideal situation would be full automation at our manufacturing plant. How far are we from the solution, just in case we have another pandemic down the road? You want to take that question?
Yes. Thanks, Hiwi. So I think this question is basically it's a chicken and egg question. So to me personally, I feel we should do the carcass in Singapore. In Singapore, of course, if you want to set up your factory in Singapore, again, cost is an issue. cost is an issue because why so many PPVC contractors, they set up a factory in Malaysia? Basically, it's cost. Basically, it's a land cost. So if we can adopt, and I hope in the near future, everyone, or at least most of us, we adopt the DFMA technology using robots, more robotics control, we reduce the number of workers, as long as we can increase the productivity, the efficiency. And when you adopt the DFMA, there will be less mistake because everything is a program. You do the work repetitively. So the mistake will be lesser, the remedy cost will be lower, less dependence on the worker. Even if the pandemic again, they hit us, at least we are ready. At least we are ready. But again, I don't think this will happen immediate. It will happen for maybe in the middle term when we are ready to accept, to embrace this DFMA technology.
Okay. All right. As an architect, perhaps I like to react to the questions on the project type. I think many of you who are designing, unless it's like what Yucha says, you can do it in modular, but if there are no repetitive work, for example, classrooms in schools or hotels, nursing home, where it's the mold can be repeatedly used, then obviously it's going to be quite difficult to do PPVC. Yeah. But I think just now what we also mentioned about is that PPVC is the way to go, but there is no one size fit all. It could be probably BCA could also look into a hybrid version, because not necessarily the fully fitted out PPVC modules to be transported, perhaps even a inclusion of precast prefabricated parts. So I think moving ahead, like Yucha, you mentioned, it's going to, after this COVID-19, the circuit breaker that has been opened up, I think we are not going back to the normal way of working. I think there will be a new normal. Perhaps some of those things we need to relook, yeah, in terms of right from design all the way to even fabrication and construction. So, okay, I like to maybe jump on to Murthy's question. Because the two other questions that is on PVVC, on software, we'll take it later part. But Murthy's question is also, again, this concern about you are racing from 3D to 3D printing using robotics. I think there's a very wide field. Yeah. The question would be, how do you kind of utilize, how do our firms gear up from a very 3D design part to 3D printing to robotics? You shared, but I think there are just some questions concerning how do we handle this aspect of revamping the mindset change and looking at different ways of production. Yeah.
Good question, Rita. So this 3D printing currently is being testing for non-structural element. And even this 3D bathroom part is printed. It's without any reinforcement. Of course, for some stability, that fibers are mixed with the cement-based content. So it's easy to print. The robot can easy to print. But with the incorporation of steel reinforcement, I think the technology is not matured yet, or it yet to come. Going forward, it may come. So in short answer is, for non-structural elements, 3D technologies is quite promising. In talking about a facade or any PBU or any kind of things in non-structural walls. Yes, but moving forward, yes, as I mentioned earlier, for PPVC, even though it's a structural element, if it is panelized, there is a robot it can assemble instead of manual assembling, which is in the process now. But moving forward, yes, it's a promising one, Rita. And the government should encourage and giving more incentives.
So there's one question.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one we can convey to BCA.
Yeah.
Right. I think one question is between PPVC and DFMA is that they are asking questions like, although you advocate even for Yuchai, a carcass like a steel frame structure, filling lightweight concrete, but the question is that, is concrete still being used as a major medium? Like, for example, Moody, you also alluded to concrete. So moving ahead, is that going to be a change in material use? Or are we going to see an improvement in lightweight concrete? I mean, the concerns about the materials to be used for DFMA as well as for PPVC areas for structure.
Okay, this question for me, Yuchai, Rita.
I think you can take that question first before I ask Yuchai.
All right. Okay. I mean, there was some development going on when I was in BCA. So one of the major issue with the concrete PPVC is weight. So right now it's 25 to 35. So, but traditionally the steel PPVC is about 15 to 20 ton weight. So this weight, how can we manage? Is some research is going on using of exploring of lightweight concrete and also use the ultra high performance high strength concrete also. When we use either lightweight or high strength concrete, there is a potential of reducing this weight. So it's easy to handle it, but the research is still going on locally as well.
Okay, Yuchai, you want to answer that question?
I think whether you want to choose a concrete PPVC or steel hybrid PPVC, it still depends on the market response. Being a Singaporean, I think most of the Singaporean buyer, if you are a condo buyer, your house buyer, if you ask 10%, 8 out of 10, they will say, I prefer concrete. Because you spend millions of dollars nowadays, 1 million for a condo is anytime. So if you spend millions of dollars, I still prefer a concrete carcass or concrete PPVC. So again, I would say the usage of whether you want to adopt steel PPVC or concrete PPVC, it basically depends on the type of project. If you say condo, I think still a lot of people they prefer concrete because we, as a developer, is still the major concern is still concern about the buyer. But if you say for nursing home or hostel or hotel, I think it will be great to use steel PPVC. So because it's lighter and faster. That is my opinion.
Okay.
Just to add on, you guys know, when we started this journey, our intention was to use steel PPVC, but after we realized that our market, if it is a single operated owner like nursing home, hostel, hotel, steel is not an issue, but multiple owners who tend to do a lot of renovation, hacking here and there, modification, that's where in our context, the steel PPVC poses some challenges. That's the reason we switched most of our projects to concrete PPVC.
Okay. So the other follow-up question for DFMA would be this question by Roderick. He says, is DFMA applicable to countries with typhoons and earthquake? We are quite safe in Singapore. But if you're talking about Muti going overseas to Southeast Asian countries and beyond, would DFMA be applicable in countries where you have seismic as well as natural disasters?
Yeah. But we need to look at their codes and we need to change the design. In Hong Kong, you see that a typhoon is quite strong, the wind load is quite strong, but they learn from us. In fact, they come and learn from us, but they change the design to suit to their codes. But in India, when we operated in Mumbai, there's a seismic zone 4. Which is a very severe zone. So we don't adopt, we take our design, but we work with the local designer to tweak the design to change to their local context code. Yes, in short, yes, it's possible, but you need to look at their codes and standards.
Okay, thank you. I think at this moment, I just like to say that perhaps for the question on softwares, given the limited time, I think the speakers will kind of share the various software used for the various different application subsequently in the release of your slides, because we're not going to spend some time on that. Right. But I like to perhaps open it to the audience. Is there any critical question that was not covered and you would like to raise your hand? Maybe you want to participate in this Q&A session? 2 hands raised. Oh dear. Who are the 2 hands raised? I don't see any hands. On my screen. Sambia Muhammad, I see a text given. How come? Oh, I didn't see that. Okay. All right. Sambia Ali Muhammad, you want to speak? BCA? There are 3 raised hands, so I take the first one. Shabia? Cannot hear. I can't hear anything. Amber, are we showing the audience? If not, then we move on to the next one. I think your mic is not unmute, you know, Shabia. Your mic is off. Okay, now, yeah, can you speak louder?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon,
I think you need to speak louder. Can't hear.
Good afternoon. Okay, just I want to clarify that this is the system of DfMA, right?
Yeah.
Is it possible for all the size of project?
Just now we have covered that in terms of size of project. I think Yuchai has mentioned it depends on the project type and also the repetition of the modules. So obviously, the bigger the size, the better in terms of the economic. Maybe Yuchai, you take that question.
Okay, like just now I mentioned, first the design. The design. So the design principle, I think you have to adopt the modularizations. So think of a way that you can maximize the usage of the mold, be it is a steel mold or whatever mold you use. So if you're talking about the size, just a rough numbers, generally in Singapore, I think most of the project they adopt the DfMA is about 100 million and above.
Okay.
Okay. So you got your question, you got your answer? Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next one I like to call upon Lee Ah Peng. You want to unmute your mic and speak?
Right. Good afternoon, all. For the assembly, I was working with Douglas before on this Savannah condo project. It's good, but only now due to the COVID-19, I think the robotic assembly at the assembly point will be good, unless it's less people and using robot. And then the most important that the M&E was not properly explained. So for M&E wise, maybe we have to look into this problem, because I've been working with Douglas on this Savannah condo. We also facing some of the M&E issue. So I'm the one who do all the design for M&E, also support Douglas on the project.
You are directing the question to Yuchai or Muti?
I think Mr. Khor will be the best answer person to this.
Okay,
Thank you for directing to Khor.
I do agree on this issue, because you see, all the while when we do the design, we always come out architectural design first. Then after that, we come out the structure design, the RC design. Very often, we always put the M&E as a last design. So when the problem that we encounter is every time when we come out the carcass design, we come out the carcass design for each individual one, we always look at the RC structure first, right? After we look at the RC, then we implement we put in all the M&E work, where is the piping, where is the switch, and very often all these M&E piping, actually we have problem because don't forget, the PPVC, the wall is very thin. The wall of the PPVC is very thin. In general, you can have 90 mm thickness for one wall. So that is a problem. If the wall is too thin, some even go for 80 mm, 80, 90. If it is too thin, it's really a problem. After you put the rebar there, and you still want to incorporate the M&E piping there, it is a problem. It is a problem. So actually right now for Dragages, we are actually looking at M&E, the design must come in collaborate together with the RC detail. Otherwise, we always face this problem like what Mr. Lim said. I do agree.
Yeah. Maybe can I interject here? I think at the end of the day, it's got to do with how the procurement is done. I think for many years, M&E is only done schematic, and when the contractors come on board, all right, depending on the systems that's offered, and that becomes a bit difficult. So therefore, in PPVC as an architect, I think the integration between the architect, the engineers, be it structure and M&E, has to come a bit more integrated, and that you need to coordinate before you can even roll out to PPVC or even DfMA concept. So the need for the industry players to come together at the early stage. You need to, just like the architects need to set the modular design concept strategies for the engineers to take up in terms of structure. Likewise, M&E components also. because our M&E has so many different systems. If you don't come in to coordinate earlier, I think even as main contractor, coming in at the later stage on contract is awarded, it will still be a challenge. So you know, I feel that the way forward will be that it will have to be a mindset change. Okay,
Yeah,
can I take the next question? Yenling Boy. Can you? Yes.
Ask Mr. Khor,
Yes.
for Dragages, how do you track the subcon progress for the carcass production and the quality, and how does your employer's RTO do the checks as well?
Good question.
Okay, for the quality, so no, we have the RE or the RTO. There'll be a full-time station on site. That's normally engaged by the consultant. So in terms of, they are independent checker. So so in terms of quality, they check. So as how we trace the subcon worker, as I say, we use software. We are using in our factory, we are using Novate. So Novate, basically we can track. In fact, in our factory in Jurong Port, we can track where the workers are, where they are working. We have a screen. We have a big DV screen in our factory. When you come in, you can see a plan of all the carcass. Where are these workers? How many in one carcass? We also can have automated. They can produce the chart, the production. Which carcass is behind schedule? Which is ahead of schedule? Which one is going to deliver? When do you plan to deliver? Things like that. It's basically controlled by the software in the factory.
So may I just add, Yu Chai, perhaps Yenling, maybe you should sign up tomorrow for the IDD. There's another session on IDD on software and all that. So perhaps you get a gist from Yu Chai, and then look at the various the topics covered tomorrow for the software aspect of it. Yeah, I'd like to move on to the next one, which is Gana Prakasam. No, sorry, I pronounced your name not so well.
Should be Jnana Prakasam.
Right? Can you speak?
Jnana Prakasam Jayakumar.
Hi, Jayakumar. Yeah, okay.
Okay, I just directly go to Mr. Murthy.
Yes.
I'm doing a confidential project, like we call it as SGA. So on our side, we are doing the DFMA only for the our pipings.
All right.
Only we can do only for shaft, because we are high-raised building, like 10 to 11 floors. Yeah, we can do only the DFMA, MEP services.
Prefab MEP for a vertical shaft only.
Shaft only. The other things we cannot able to do that, because it's only a 7-meter height building. We cannot.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility, because you like airports, as you said, the Goa airport and the like not non-commercial buildings, like normal HDB blocks, all with minimum services, right?
Yeah.
The commercial building is a lot of MEP services.
Yes.
If you want to do only DFMA only for the MEP, that all is in is a normal building. It is feasible to recommend for DFMA, or it's go for site fabrication.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. You're considering the economies of scale. Generally, the more modules you have, it's better for your managing your cost. If it is a small quantum of module, whether does it worth to do DFMA or not? Jnana Prakasam, is this your question? If I make it simple? Yeah. Okay. Right. So let's say if we compare to other DFMA technologies, for prefab MEP, the cost premium is very less because the material is same. Only you're adding up to the frames only, right? So, but I don't know others. Your building is a 7-story building. How many story? 10 story. Because we don't. I'm not sure as how many shaft is going to come. Even if the shaft come, it's not going to be more than the 3-meter length. So in that context, we need to really look at the number of vertical shaft going to come, and we need to really work it out at the cost also. But if my calculation is correct, the cost premium won't be so much higher. And many, we have some prefab MEP manufacturer in Singapore as well. If you don't do it by yourself, you can also outsource it. But again, I can't answer without details, but in short, you need to look at the details. It could be possible.
Okay, because our length is around like 80 meters. The height is around 80 meters or so. So we have around 8 shafts. So it's 8 shafts. One already we have designed for one one module around 7 meters, 7 meters, right?
7 meters, okay, all right.
Is connecting everything, but the remaining parallel, the perpendicular one, right? Whatever we cannot able to do that. If we can plan properly, I'm just the simple question is only we can do for the shafts or remaining also.
Okay. Jnana Prakasa, I see your points. I would say that it's possible to do it, but I need to see the details. What you can do is, in my sharing my slides, I do have my email ID. You can drop an email to me. I can answer the questions as much as possible.
Okay.
Thanks. It's a good question, Jnana Prakasam. Thank you.
Thank you, Murthy. I'd like to follow a question from where he has left off. I think DFMA is not just for like what we talk about shaft. I think moving ahead, if you're going to drive building as in fabrication offsite is like a manufacturing, like in a factory, then obviously the potential of DFMA will be lot more open up. Yeah. So do you see in your own thinking and own work with DFMA technologies, are there a lot of things that we have yet to explore for building typologies?
Rita, this question is
not good to ask.
No, it's question to me, right? It's this question to me, right?
Yeah, it's to you.
I mean, there's a lot of opportunities, Rita, moving forward.
Yes. Okay.
So we don't need to stick it with the one type of DFMA technology, for example, PPVC, right? So, but if you look at the commercial buildings, the bulk of the work is done by the MEP kind of areas. So it's each. That's why government is very prudent, categorize as a type of different DFMA technology to mix and match with to improve the efficiency of the building. Yes,
okay,
moving.
Okay, yeah. Do you see the fact that the procurement of the various MEP systems, is it an impediment? Because currently it's all very siloed by services. So as such, DFMA would a bit more restrictive?
Not really, Rita. Probably I would say that it's a myth, or we are not experienced it so far, because we are currently doing about 3 or 4 projects only completed. Okay. So there are people are setting up a factory for prefab, particularly for prefab MEP. Compared to the other technology, prefab MEP is, I would say that much simpler. The services, you are going to put it on the factory, same services, and assemble it with the frame. That's right.
Thank you. Thank you. We can discuss this offline. Now, there's one last raised hand from Seo Min Hyap. Are you still there? You want to ask a question?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I would like to ask the one thing regarding for this PPVCs can be hacked or not for MME work. Meaning I want to hack your PPVC wall for MME piping.
M&E piping.
Yeah, right. Because before the design stage, we all miss out to do that. So I want to hack this wall. Possible or
you didn't coordinate properly. Okay.
So
is that question for Murthy or is that question for you, Chai? Mr. Seo?
Up to them, because I want to know the answer.
Okay, maybe let me answer the question. Okay, basically, I think this is a common question that a lot of people ask. Can I hack the wall? All right, be it for renovation, or can I hack the wall? I want to increase my living room. So ultimately, all these hinge on the design at the initial stage. So whether can you hack the wall or can or cannot depends on the wall, the purpose of the wall. If it is a structural wall, of course, definitely you cannot hack. So it's important to determine at the upfront during the design process. So it's very common right now, developer, they have this idea during the tender stage. It will tell you, okay, this wall allow the owner to hack in the future, certain wall. So they have identified this wall to be hacked upfront. If you identify this wall to be hacked upfront, that means the consultant, they can design it as a non-structural wall. Then yes, you can hack. But if it is a structural wall, of course, you cannot.
All right, thank you, Yuchai. Thank you, Moorthy, for the very wonderful presentation.
Thanks,
and
Rita.
Thank you.
yeah, I think we have overran our timing, and I would love to carry on the question and answer, but I think no. Those of you who have still questions not answered, I'm sure BCA will kind of cascade the questions to the speakers. You probably answer you offline via email, and I like to thank everyone for coming for this webinar. Tune in tomorrow for the session 3. And meanwhile, be safe, stay home, and take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, webinar chair and speakers, for the interesting and informative discussions. It was particularly appropriate at this time when the current pandemic has brought travel and business as usual to a pause. We have come to the end of this session. After exiting this webinar, you will be directed to access an evaluation form for today's session. Once submitted, you will be able to download the speaker's presentation materials. Tomorrow, we will have our last webinar series on how projects progress and develop through an integrated digital framework. We hope you can join us for the finale tomorrow, and we wish you a pleasant day ahead. Thank you.